Revelation, the book, biblical. I always found this interesting that 9/11, biblically you can find it by going to Revelation 9:11. And it says, and they had a king over them, which was the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek his name is Apollyon. So I want you to look, both of these names end with on. It's interesting, on. They switched these letters up with an A-N later from an O-on, an O-N. So you have the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Phoenicians, Apollyon, Babylonian. What's going on here? Why did they flip it? Because that little two-letter combination points back to one thing, the same thing that I've kept telling you from the time that I started. This all goes back to Saturn. It all goes back to the worship of Saturn. And I'm going to show you, just through the word Apollyon, how the word is put together and what it means. But quickly, don't you find it interesting that 9/11 is found in the book of Revelation in the Bible in chapter 9, verse 11. Sounds scripted, don't it? Do you think it's just by chance? Well, why didn't it fall on some other day or whatever? See, guys, you're going to have to wake up. There are no such thing as churches. Churches are lodges, okay? If you were raised as a Lutheran, you belong to a Lutheran lodge. If you were raised as a Catholic, you go to the Catholic lodge. Okay? If people think a church is different than a Masonic lodge, you're crazy. The Masons have the contracts and they built all the churches, all of them, and all the cathedrals. And if you understand what you're looking for in a church, you can find Masonic symbology in every church across the United States and in the world. So they are not churches per se. The word doesn't even apply as a place of worship for Christ. It is a lodge. It is controlled by the same individuals. You're the one that thinks in your head that it's a completely separate situation. It is not. Your spirituality may be separate from that of a Mason. I'm not here to try and tell you it's not. I'm telling you that the building that you go into is a Masonic lodge. Okay? We can get into this more in depth as time goes on. I was raised a Lutheran. I'm half Jewish from my mother's side. I don't have any vested interest in either side because I see what's going on here. And I've always claimed that Jesus was my Savior. So this has got nothing to do with trying to discredit the Christian movement. Not at all. Okay, so here's A of Apollyon. It's A. It's a sixth tone in the scale of major C. It's also the alpha and the omega. Okay, so the next word is poly. Interesting, poly. It's a noun, it's plural, and it means lies. And a formal word for politician. So, this tells you right here the politicians are fucking liars. So we got A, poly. Let's look at the last word, which is interesting. Jeez, imagine that, politicians lying, yet people still go out and vote. Even though they know they're being lied to, they still go out and vote. So any of you kooks out there that think you're going to defeat the old world order, because there is no new world order, what a pipe dream that is. This one is the most most interesting of all, on, like you saw the light switch on. It's the biblical name of Heliopolis. It's the biblical name of Heliopolis. It's a word for the planet Saturn is Helios, the sun god. But it's the black sun. It is not the one that people think. People always think that. Heliopolis. Okay, we look here. It says, Greek tradition defined by Saturn as Chronos, the alter ego of Helios. Okay, so you've got the positive and the negative here. Chronos is said to have rule over the pole. Now, what's going on down at the South Pole? Okay, pole also means penis. It also means it's a phallic symbol. Okay, so when they say we're going to have a pole flip, they're talking about alter egos going from good to bad. Pole switch. Understand that these are all coded messages that those that are in power know what they mean. It doesn't mean that the world's going to flip upside down. It's going through a phase. If you understand how electricity works, you have positive, negative, and it flips. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. That's how all things work. And so it's going to be a pole flip. A lot of times they use characters to describe electrical circuitry and how the fields work. So that's interesting. Real interesting. When people start waking up and understanding that words have power, the word on, we know what it means. Heliopolis. Heliopolis is Saturn, right? What do you think? What do you think these phrases that get into the languages, especially English, which is what ruled the world for a long time? The sun never sits on a British Empire. When you say, "Come on, moron," well, you're asking for more Saturn. You're asking for more Saturn, moron. Or you say, "Come on." Well, you're saying, "Come, Saturn." Did you understand these words? You've been programmed to ask for this thing to come to you. You've been programmed to ask this thing to come into your life. Words are very powerful. That's why they have the toy back in the 70s and 80s. It was called the Speak and Spell. You remember it? It's speak and spell. When you open your mouth, you create. So they've tricked you into asking, ask you for these things to come upon you. We're destroying ourselves. Like the word Bible. It's Bible. Two colors that are highly associated with Saturn is gold and black. When you look at the King James Bible, what is it? It's black leather. Interesting, black leather with gold inlay. When you finally understand that the church is nothing more than a Masonic lodge with a different name, because you wouldn't want to go by the Masons, they're devil worshippers, right? But you're going to go over here to the fucking Lutheran Church, which is a subsidiary of the Catholic Church. It's the same thing. Your spirituality is what sets you apart. Okay, not the name of some Masonic fraternal institution which they tricked you into believing into. You better wake up and understand, because we're running out of time. Oops, said that magic word again. Time.